Yes, people, welcome back to talkSPORT's YouTube channel. Romario Webster here, and today we're going to have a quick look at the Chelsea versus Arsenal 1-1 draw. And to look back at that game with me is talkSPORT Goals Pundit CJ, Deluded Gooner. How are you, my friend? You all good?
I'm good, man. And it's always a pleasure to be here speaking about Arsenal and with a good friend and someone that actually looks at the game how I do, one of the footballing purists, man. Appreciate you lot for having me. Big up everyone listening. Make sure you're smashing the like button. And I'm sure we've got a lot to discuss, my friend.
We've got a lot. Me and CJ have been talking a little bit off camera, so let's get into what we've been talking about. One of them results, CJ, I don't know how you take the result. Let's just start with the 1-1 draw and the game itself. What was your reaction to the result?
It's a weird one, man. Hindsight's a wonderful thing, and it's one where I kind of look at on two views. As we were kind of saying off camera, if I take the quote-unquote lazy view, my friend, in that if you offered me a win against Bayern Munich, a win in the North London derby, and a draw, or the same results but different kind of statistics, I would have had that. I would have accepted that. I know how it is. You know, we've gone from we're the best team in Europe against Bayern Munich to, you know, it looks like there's cracks and vulnerabilities. I do think we're always on knife edge. We saw it against Sunderland. We saw it against in the North London derby, and we saw it against Chelsea. It's a weird one because, and I'm sure we'll get onto it, I don't want to praise Chelsea. I'm an Arsenal fan. But Maresca's tactics, before we get into the obvious and things where it went left, I was impressed. We couldn't play out from the middle. We couldn't play. We had no real central penetration. They pressed well. There was a lot of gaps that they were evading. I do feel for us, maybe there's a bit of tiredness. Maybe there's a lot of fatigue. Maybe there's other factors. But I did think it kind of took me back to the first part of the season, Romario, where there's a lot of like leveraging the control and not letting go of control and putting the handbrake up. And I feel it took me back to them because I feel from Newcastle up until this point, Arteta was playing with the handbrake down. We was going for it. Now, granted, if we went for it and it went left and we lost, which probably on paper could have went that way, I'd be a bit of a hypocrite. But I do think actually in hindsight, before a ball was kicked, bro, we was probably a lot more risk averse. We had, you know, we did have some half chances, but we didn't really put Sanchez under any real pressure. We didn't really have touches in the op box. At one point in the first half, if I'm brutally honest with you, the best thing was it went down to 10 men, or Chelsea went down to 10 men, because I was thinking, okay, clearly the manager, maybe, you know, Chelsea have set up well. They've come at us. They've started like a house on fire. They're down to 10 men. Maybe they'll be a bit scared. And in the second half, I do think they were counter-attacking, but I still think we was very risk-averse. Maybe, as much as I like Hincapié and Mosquera, maybe Mikel Arteta is looking at it as that I haven't got my first-choice centre-halves. I haven't got my striker. I haven't got my pieces to the puzzle to play in the way that I want. Maybe we approach this game, Romario, in the sense of if you can't win, don't lose. But for me, it's more the intensity. I think we coped. You know, there was a lot of fouls flying in, a lot of yellow cards. The ref was trigger happy, but I think we was very risk averse. Don't get it twisted. I don't think the players did enough. You know what they say, Romario? If you can't win, don't lose. So it is a bit of a mixed bag, if I'm completely honest with you. Obviously, what's that? 5 points clear now. It would have been nice to have 9, but you can't have it all in life. All we can do is step forward to Brentford and Villa, man.
Yeah, I mean, you summed it up well there, CJ, in terms of, you know, the way Arsenal played in Chelsea's half, or how they didn't play in Chelsea's half. Maresca's tactics were quite impressive. Let's start with the red card there. Moises Caicedo gets sent off. A strong challenge. I thought it was a red card. I'm sure you thought it was a red card. And it did seem like it would change the game. What did you make of the midfield battle? Mainly Reece James. I thought Reece James had a great performance. A lot of the talk before the game was Rice v Caicedo, and Reece James, who is known as a right back, comes out on top. Stellar performance. People are calling for him to start in that England midfield of Rice and Bellingham now. What did you make of that midfield battle, Caicedo getting sent off? It was a bit of a classic London derby, wasn't it?
It was a classic London derby, and in terms of being controlled, you know, again, when I put my football purist cap on, that's what you want to see in a London derby. Obviously, you don't want it to go too far with what Caicedo did, which was a red card, but you're seeing yellow cards, you're seeing Enzo make a tackle and get into the argy-bargy.
Three yellow cards in the first 15 minutes.
Exactly, madness. You're seeing Hincapié get into it. That's what we grew up on, that's what we like, and it adds to the spectacle. We've had Chelsea's number at the Bridge and still haven't lost there since 2018. You know, obviously, if they won, which they got a courageous point, they're putting themselves even more into a title challenge. So I did expect that. And there was kind of that. If I look at what you said about midfield, that's actually the thing that got me. I think they bypassed us far too easily. They found a way to like open up the pitch, which is a contested pitch, and we couldn't really get around them. I think Rice was probably one of our better players on the ball, but if you saw it, he's getting on the ball from the centre half. So he's, we can't expect him to break lines. You mentioned it. Reece James was superb. Not just Reece James, especially on that right-hand side. The way Fofana kind of made himself a wide angle for Sanchez. Obviously, he had Reece James dropping in, and even Augusto. I was very impressed with that. In relation to the red card, bro, it is a red card, isn't it? Like, again, you could argue he should have had 2 yellows before that. You could argue, that Cucurella actually should have been the one sent off long before that. But I just think them Chelsea players, naturally, they were up for it, but probably needs to control it a bit. They were a bit too aggy and excited, and that is something I like about Caicedo. He is very tigerish, but he took it too far. You play stupid games, you win dumb prizes. But that's where I'm annoyed, because I do think if it's 11 versus 11, you never know. We could have won, but I think they would have lost, really. So obviously, when I'm looking at, I'm thinking, right, they've been on top of us. They've started like a house on fire. They've gone down to 10 men. Are we now going to put them under sustained pressure? You're seeing Sanchez make a lot of fouls. They're doing mid and low blocks. To be fair to Chelsea, they kept doing what they was doing. Arsenal, unfortunately, we kept doing what we was doing. The only good thing is Saka's produced a moment of magic. Marino, he wasn't having the best of games. End of the day, went and scored. And do you remember last year? Yeah, do you know the chance with Timber and Gyökeres? There was something similar the year before. Like, it's written in the script. The last 3 years at Stamford Bridge have been a bit annoying, Romario, man.
Yeah, no, we'll get on to Arsenal and their lack of chances. That
Madness.
Gyökeres, it just got stolen off his head, didn't it, man? It was written, Gyökeres' first game back in a few games, it was written. But it didn't happen. Let's just stick with Chelsea, because you sort of mentioned Enzo Maresca. You mentioned Chelsea's aggression. And I think with Chelsea, they sort of evade the pressure of the title race. A lot of their fan base, when you spoke to them before the last international break, they said, we're not in the title race. I remember Enzo Maresca last season distanced himself from it, even though they were right up there. How close are Chelsea, CJ, to challenging for the title? Because in my humble opinion, I think they're a good side. They're a side that won the Club World Cup. They won the Conference League. All right, they get bantered for winning the Club World Cup against a PSG that were probably on holiday, but they got the job done. How close are Chelsea to challenging for the title?
I don't care what Chelsea have to say. I know internally, they're probably saying something different. Maresca can play it down. The players can play it down. The fans can play it down. The way Chelsea fans and Chelsea are talking about their football club, it reminds me of the first year under Arteta we fought for the title, where we're trying to be diplomatic. But at the end of the day, what you have done or doing on a football pitch, which has been winning games, you've put yourself in that conversation. There's no way around it. Chelsea have that winning pedigree. They are in a title race. They're second. Had they have won, they would have been very bullish. And you think internally, they might not think they're the favourites, but you think internally those players, that manager, if they just keep doing what they're doing, they don't think they're in a title race. Obviously, they probably, for Chelsea fans that have seen their team win a title, they probably don't have that level of consistency, because Chelsea are that kind of team. They'll put in a performance like this where both teams did get a point, and I think, the very fact that we're a bit negative and they're very positive says everything, but they might go and mess about against Leeds. They're in a title race. There's no way around it. They're second on paper. Us, them, City. If you want to rule out Liverpool, I don't know. We're in this. They're in this. Don't let them play it down. They're definitely in this. Reece James is quality. Cole Palmer's quality. You want to tell us Caicedo's at this and that. We know the money's been spent. Don't let them fool you. They're in a title race. They're part of this.
I'm glad you mentioned a few of them names. Cole Palmer was on the bench yesterday, didn't come off, but they still missing the likes of Levi Colwill.
Exactly.
But they've got most of their squad. Lavia's still got a lot of injury problems. Do they scare you, Chelsea? Do you think, because honestly, at the start of the season, Liverpool were the main contenders. Everyone had them down as winning it. Man City, people were unsure of. Everyone knew Chelsea was a good team, but maybe not this good because of the age of their squad. But are you genuinely worried Chelsea could be Arsenal's closest title challengers?
You know what it is with Chelsea? It's that consistency. I know they've got X amount of wins on the board, but they are that kind of team that they'll put in an encouraging performance, even with 10 men against us, and then maybe mess around against Leeds or so on and so forth. I still don't know how good they are defensively, regardless of what statistics have to say, but they're in the race. I've seen Chelsea sides win the league. I'm not necessarily scared of this Chelsea team in comparison to what they've done in a few years ago. I do think their project is bad news for the Premier League long term, especially if they get their act together. I wouldn't say I'm scared. I'm scared of ourselves because in life, you've got to have this healthy fear. Chelsea have qualities to win the league. We know what Manchester City have done. It's probably fair to say everybody rules out Liverpool, but you never know. And again, we haven't got over the line, but we've shown our pedigree. So everybody's kind of in it. But Romario, honestly, I am scared of ourselves. You know, I don't know what's going on with the injuries. Yes, we've got depth and we've been dealing with injuries since August to now, and we've been handling the business, and we actually haven't dropped that many points. And I think every football fan knows you can't win them all. But by that same side of the coin, you do look at fine margins. And as I said, there are some moments where, as much as I rate Mikel Arteta, and you could have done different things and got a different reality or the same thing, I am looking at you and also the players. Again, you know, Sunderland, we played an informed side, but a part of me just wonders, Gaffer, maybe if you made more subs, 15 minutes away from home, if we got out of there, a part of me thinks in the second half against Liverpool, maybe if we inject a bit of legs, we're not running and getting ran ragged. And obviously Zubimendi's conceded that foul. Very good in the second half at home against Manchester City, but then also the first half against them. I would actually say there's been 3 times or 3 different teams that I've actually been impressed when they've played my team this year. I think tactically, naturally, Bayern Munich with Company and what he's doing. This might be an unpopular opinion, but I'd actually say Marco Silva for Fulham just on their mid-block. And initially, when it was 11 versus 11 for Chelsea. So there's food for thought, but we never lost in it. And if that's us at our worst, and if you can't win, don't lose, well, right, I would say in a while, that's our worst performance, though. Like, player for player, I don't think there was any match winners like that. I do think there was a bit of a handbrake. I do think we was a bit shook. Obviously, don't get it twisted. The ref was trigger happy. Naturally, when it's 11 versus 10, bro, they're going to want to even up the scores. But to take Calafiori off, if he's injured, fair enough. But to take him off, obviously, Miles Lewis-Skelly's got booked. To take Zubimendi off, I just think we was very risk-averse from start to finish, if I'm brutally honest, bar the goal we actually scored, Roms.
Yeah, it's well, you've led us onto Arsenal perfectly there. After we equalised, I think we managed 2 shots after our equaliser, and Chelsea managed 4 up until the 90th minute. Then we did actually start peppering Chelsea's goal a bit more. What is it then? Let's talk Arsenal, CJ. We're on a 17-game unbeaten run, so like you said correctly, there's no need for real hysteria around Arsenal and worry and panic about the performance yesterday.
Easier said than done, my boy. You know,
fans. It is. We're football fans, right? So we're passionate. It is easier said than done. But like you said, you got to put the context. We're missing Saliba and Gabriel. We didn't lose. We beat Tottenham and Bayern Munich. But from a performance point of view, you're playing 10 men. You're away at your London rivals. I know Tottenham are our biggest rivals, but Chelsea competitively tend
Chelsea
to be
actually a good side, unlike them lot.
Yeah, Tottenham don't really cause us any issues. But why didn't we shoot more? I was sitting there watching the game, CJ, thinking, you've got to try and just at least chat. Robert Sanchez isn't the best goalie in the world. He's not the worst, but we know he's got a clanger in him. Why do you think Arteta... I don't want to just blame Arteta, but why do you think the team didn't shoot more and maybe press the issue a bit harder?
I think from start to finish, and especially Mourinho's comments after the game, where he said Arteta was saying, like, just keep it calm, keep it cool. I don't think we wanted to kind of get into that match. I think Chelsea were playing the occasion, rightly or wrongly. We was rightly or wrongly kind of playing the game. We're trying to keep it cool.
Yeah.
We're probably looking at it in that there's been a lot of energy levels. We've got Brentford, we've got Villa. It'd be nice to win. I actually think if in Arteta's way, it would have been more of a chess match. It was an argy-bargy, typical London game. It would have been a chess match between Maresca and Arteta. You take it to the last 20 minutes. That's obviously where maybe your Noni Madueke's and your Gyökeres in hindsight. So I do think it's a mixture of things. It's how Maresca's set up. It's us probably being a bit risk-averse. Obviously, they've got missing players, but we've also got missing players. And also the players, man. Our players just not doing enough. Like, you mentioned a great stat there. I think in the first half, we only had 2 touches in their box. So a lot of that had to have been with Arteta changing things, but also the players. We've got some good players and there's some good 1v1 battles. So they just didn't do enough. Even the shots we had, Sanchez made it look a bit more dramatic than it should have. Like, Martinelli had one where he should have bagged. Saka had one. We had a couple of other half chances. So I think it's more of that one. And I that's probably, Roms, why I'm kind of more upset, because I've seen us just go for it. Newcastle, we went for it. Plenty of times in this period, we've just gone for it. We've smelt blood. Like you said there, against 10 men, at the very minimum, you want to see Chelsea living dangerously. Sanchez making saves from all angles. You know what? Timber and Rice made 2 fantastic last-ditch tackles in the first half. You kind of wanted to see that with them. So I just think, all things considered, I just think we had this approach of if we can't win, don't lose. We just didn't want to risk it. We just didn't want to show all our hand if it was a card game. We didn't want to just roll the 6, if it makes sense, rightly or wrongly.
Yeah, no, you're right. And the thing is, playing against 10 men, it's not a foregone conclusion you win, right? We went away to Man City, had the dodgy Trossard red card. We held them to a 2 draw. We were very close to winning. Yeah, exactly. Even Everton last week against Man United on Monday Night Football, 10 men, they score after the 10 men. So it's not as simple as that. But even the performance, we obviously had Marino in 9 Marino scores, Bukayo Saka back with the assists. We obviously started Martinelli. I thought he had a decent game, but there wasn't really a lot of chances for him. What did you make of the whole team's performance from Marino and the 9, Hincapié and Mosquera playing together at centre-back for the first time? With all of that in mind, are you sort of happy with how the boys dealt with it?
With that in mind, and you know what, that maybe shows our level in that as much as I'm not happy and the gaffer could have done better, the players could have done better, we're playing one of the better teams in the Premier League, right? 10 men or not, we're not playing to our level, and we still came away with something, and not exactly happy that we drew, despite that we haven't drawn or lost that many times this season. So that probably speaks of the level. In relation to Hincapié, I do think he can improve a bit aerially. I do think they were trying their best to get him sent off. I like him. I like that little moment with him and Neto having a bit of words, and that, you know, that was said consistently throughout the game, innit? Like, that was done. So I think Hincapié did well. I actually think in the first half, when we were struggling to find any passing lanes and stuff, I think Mosquera showed a lot of courage. And, you know, again, his only bad game is what he got hooked after 45 minutes at St James's Park, but he's gone Chelsea away, played against City now, Liverpool away, and he's done well. I think Timber was superb. I think Rice was mustard. In fact, even them two. I actually liked the cameo I saw from Odegaard. I know he wasn't quite at it in the final third, but I think he at least injected something, and I'd throw that onto Madueke as well. Obviously, you know, the chance between Timber and Gyökeres, it's one where, bro, you wish you could speak to them. Timber's entitled to go for it because he's in the box and he's in good form in that regards, but maybe Gyökeres needs to be a bit nasty and shout for that, and who knows what could have been said. All in all, Madueke did okay again, bars on the floor. I think Martinelli didn't really, I know I want to be a bit nice to Martinelli because he's been struggling for games and fitness, but I don't really feel he grabbed his opportunity. I think we missed Trossard and all of those players. And in relation to Marino, let's be honest, like, he obviously does all the facilitative roles okay, but he was stinking up the place yesterday. He scored, big him up, that's what a good player does, but he was stinking up the place. Just before he scored, I think every Arsenal fan, if they're honest with themselves, hand on heart, we was going, Gaffer, where's Gyökeres? Let's go. And Marino showed why the Gaffer's the Gaffer, and we're armchair experts in it, but a mixed bag, man. If we're saying this about half of these players, yeah, you're not typically going to win a game of Premier League football, innit? And also to the manager.
Yeah, I mean, big up Marino. He fills the gap. He fills the gap. He gets the job done, and I'm glad he got a goal because you're right, it wasn't his best performance. But let's look forward now. Let's look forward.
Yes.
That game's done. It's done and dusted. These next 4 Premier League games, I think, are huge, and I just want to get your opinion on how important they are, because a lot of people say, you know, when you go Chelsea away, Liverpool, Man United, City, they're the big games, but I actually think that other games, the other 14 teams or 13 are as important, because that's where you can slip up. Villa, Fulham, West Ham have all sort of been banana skins for us in the past. So our next 4 games, Brentford at home, Wednesday, then we go away to Villa, which is always tricky. Home to Wolves, I mean, if that's not 3 points, I don't know what is. And then away to Everton's new ground, which we're not always happy travellers at Everton. I know our record against them's pretty good, but we're not always the best travellers there. How important is it that we then go on and win those 4 games after a result like yesterday?
Roms, I can't understate it, you know. You have to win all the games. We're chasing a deficit based on the Chelsea game. I know we've obviously won more than we've lost and drawn, but if it evidently comes down to fine margins in this Premier League in May, on top of everything that will happen in the future, you are going to look at the Chelsea draw, the Liverpool defeat, the Chelsea draw, the Manchester City draw, the Sunderland draw. So we need to chase that deficit. Every week that goes by, whether it's, we didn't even talk about Saliba not being in the squad. There's more injuries than we can count. We're going to have to just get on with it. Like you said, man, the games are coming thick and fast. You're seeing an element of fatigue. Brentford at home, they're doing well. You know, very few clubs, will lose a manager like Thomas Frank and their star captain in Norgard. And arguably, and they're doing better than the team that
and
Frank
Mbeumo.
And Mbeumo almost forgot. Exactly, and Risa, and respectfully, you know, many people will be disrespectful, but Keith Andrews was a set piece coach. It's hardly a manager. They're saying he's the next one up. They're playing very well. We know what they bring to the table. It's going to be at the Emirates. They're going to want to win for their own reasons. They don't really care about our first world problems about winning the Premier League, so we need to win that. I don't need to tell you about Aston Villa and how dramatic those games have been and how dramatic those games are, and the Emirates derby. I don't think Villa have been amazing. I think they're finding their feet of late, but that's going to be difficult. You know what the funny thing is, yeah? Because you mentioned Wolves, and I'll make you right, and I agree with everything you said. If that's not 3 points, I don't know what is, but such is life. Of those 4 games, yeah, that is probably where it will be the most difficult and toughest in life. You have to kind of fear individuals or a team that's got nothing to lose, and that's where Wolves are. They're a shoo-in to get relegated. But as you said, if we're serious about winning the league, Wolves, there's no question, it's 3 points. Everton away is nasty though, man. You know, all the connotations with Arteta and Moises and Everton away and Everton home and away, it's not been plain sailing, and you never know. Every day that we wake up, there's some players coming back, like Jesus shocks us, and then there's shocks with Saliba. We've got it all to do, man. You need to be targeting 9 to 12 points. 9 at the very minimum. 12 points ideally, if my math serves me correctly, with them 4 games. Rums, I'm surprised you asked me. We just need to win, bro.
I think 12. I think it's got to be 4 wins, CJ. I think
100.
if we're serious about winning this league, you have to. I think Roy Keane or Scholes said it. Go and win it. Don't let it come to you where Liverpool slip up, City slip up, Chelsea slip up. Go and win the league. Now, listen, as I said, we're looking forward. We're being positive. It's a positive look back today, CJ. But after that result and what we discussed going forward, we've actually got Club Brugge in the Champions League as well sandwiched in. So it's not like you go away to Inter Milan or a Bayern Munich in there. So it's a nice run for us. How are you feeling in terms of the league title? Are you still confident that Arteta and the boys will get it done?
We've got a big chance, man. We're firmly in a fight. We are the favourites at the moment. Again, favourites don't necessarily win, but we can be upset about 90 minutes, improve what we need to improve, but consider the greater landscape in that we've amassed more points than we would have. You know, if you offered people this amount of points the 1st of December and actually in the last 3 games, 2 wins and a draw, they would have taken it. We can be angry about the performance across 90 minutes, try and improve that, but get back on it. We've got it all to do. And that's to answer your question. It goes back to what I said a few moments ago in that it's not me saying we're the biggest and baddest, but I only fear ourselves. Before I look at what Chelsea are doing, City, Liverpool, or, in a few weeks, if you invite me back, there might be another challenger we're speaking about. I'm looking at ourselves. At the end of the day, football's decided at both boxes. Isolated to the Chelsea game, for the goal we conceded from a set piece, we weren't good enough. We weren't efficient and effective enough in their box. You made a great point about, and people need to remember after the red card, how little shots we had in the second half. I think in the first half, at a point, we only had 2 touches in their box. So there's a learning curve. But anyone that wants to down tools now, I don't know what you're on. We're in 4 trophies. We've got a chance of bringing silverware. And fingers and toes and everything cross, Roms, May 2026, we're having a parade, man. So, yeah, man, I think we've got a big chance at this. But we need to go out and do it. As you said there, go and win the league. Don't let it come to you. Like, again, I think that's a big disappointment as well, because it could have been 9 points. Don't let that happen again. Go and seize the present, because that's what we haven't done in recent years, and it needs to be this year. If it don't happen this year, I don't know what to tell you, man.
You know what? Before I let you go, because I have to ask you, this has been a discussion with some of my Arsenal people. You mentioned the 4 trophies there. I mean, after Bayern Munich, you know what the reaction was. Arsenal are the best team in the world. Not even just Europe. Everyone was saying we're the best team in the world. This team can win it all. Do you think this is a squad that can go on and... Actually, not can. Do you think this squad will win more than 1 trophy this season? And should it? Is this the squad that is... Because I think you believe we can. I don't think you're sitting there thinking we can't. So, but do you think this is a squad that, come the end of the season, they should be sitting there with a double?
I mean, it'd be a shame if they didn't get a major and another one. Like, ideally, you'd want the Premier, the Champs.
Because the FA Cup and Carabao isn't the sort of double you want, is it?
Yeah,
really?
exactly. For the double that we all want, the Premier and the Champs, I need to see if our players are actually fit, how we manage our nerves, what the manager actually does in the crunch time moments.
Yeah.
Like, if this run of games was in, like, everything we've seen in the last 4 games, if this is in late March, April, May, then I'm very confident. But there's still a lot of football to play. On paper, the fact that we've got a great squad, the fact that we can absorb injuries, the fact that there's many ways of playing, I think we can. I would say this as well to kind of end it is I kind of need a bit more individual brilliance, because I think when you're looking at the Champions League, yes, it's about tactics and anyone can beat anyone on the day, but we need players with that air of inevitability. Like, we don't necessarily have a Salah or a Haaland or players of that kind of ilk. It'd be a shame if we don't get one over the line, but there's no reason as to why we can't. If you were to press me on an answer, I think it's more realistic we bag a Premier League and a League Cup / FA Cup than the Premier the chance. But Lord knows, I want to be wrong about that. I really do, man. You know my thoughts. I'd rather the Champions League over the Prem, even though I think Arteta and the players, they need to get that monkey off their back in the Prem. I think it would be more catastrophic if they don't win the Prem this year. So, yeah, we can. But they need to go and prove it, because reality is, Roms, unfortunately, everybody calls us bottlers, and we know they're being a bit disingenuous, but I try and live my life by a saying, until you prove them wrong, they're right. So May 2026, let's prove them wrong, innit?